I go with?
I go with, yeah, I like,
Really?
yeah. Once you get used to something like that, it's just, yeah.
Ready to go?
Yep. Yeah, once you get a little
Fired up. There you go. We were just waiting. I would like to call to order the regularly scheduled December 18th Board of Sylvania Township Trustees meeting at 7 p.m.
Call the roll. Mr. Haddad.
Here.
Mr. Mahoney.
Here.
Mr. Genowine.
Here.
Simple, here.
Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the December 4th minutes. Anybody have any corrections or issues with it? No? I'd like to present the minutes as
Yes, submitted.
submitted.
Mr. Genowine did, and Mr. Mahoney seconded that.
Yes.
Okay, passed. Well, cool, you should call the roll. Mr.
Yes.
Haddad.
I didn't hear Mr. Mahoney say anything.
He mumbled.
He nodded.
He nodded.
Yeah, whatever, that's fine.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes. Any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening?
No, I just have something to bring up under administration,
Okay.
small.
Okay. Hearing of the public on agenda items?
Nobody signed in.
Okay. So, Darrell.
Good evening. Very quick monthly report here. November wasn't too significant. We had 25 permits for the month, which is about on par with where we were 2 years ago and much better than last year at with 1.8 million in value. Again, a little shy of 2 years ago, but a lot better than it was a year ago. And residential dwellings continue to keep pace. We had 4 last month. This brings us up to 42 for the year to date. Last year at this time we had 41, 2 years ago 44, and then 09 we only had 28. So things are continuing to hold steady in that department. On our meetings, the BZA meeting, we had 2 variances for the Panera drive-through and for a sign variance at 2727 Holland, Sylvania. Those were both approved. And 2 conditional use applications were also approved. Zoning Commission did not meet. There was nothing on the agenda. And that's all I've got.
Darrell, do you go to the meetings when they're down in the county? Do you ever?
Like tomorrow morning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, there's that one on Holland, Sylvania. Is that on tomorrow's agenda, that PUD?
That's McCord.
McCord, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that'll be tomorrow morning.
Okay, great.
Okay. Thanks, Darrell.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Public Works, do you have anything? Nothing. Fire Department, monthly report, and a opinion.
Thank you. Good evening. Before you have the monthly report for the month of November. I'll just skip through it real quick unless you have some particular questions. You'll see on the bottom of page number 2 that our fire runs for 2012 for the year have increased somewhat. Decreased somewhat. We think that's because of our fire prevention program and our inspections that we do at the commercial property. On page 3, you'll see that the EMS reports, EMS incidents, have increased for the year. Last year we were at 2744. This year at 3126, about a 382 incident increase. Page 4 are our calls for service, mutual aid service from other departments. Just a real quick highlight, we received mutual aid from Springfield Township 4 times, and we gave it to Springfield Township twice. So we still run about even or a little bit more. We're asking Springfield for more assistance than they're asking us in that contract that we signed with them. Page 6 is your community risk reduction. We had 9 public safety events. We had 12 plan reviews. Deputy Chief Frederick continues to do a great job with those. We had several requests for environmental studies also. Page 6 was our monthly training. As the weather gets colder, we practice our ice rescue. Last year, we didn't have any ice to practice the ice rescue with. So this year, Captain Smith decided to get a hold of Northview and see if we could use their pool. So all the guys went over to Northview and we practiced the ice rescue techniques in their pool with the ice suits and the ropes and everything that we do there. So we're prepared for any ice that we get. We did purchase 4 new suits this year. So every engine company has 2 suits on, there's 2 ice rescue suits on every engine company that when we respond. So we'll be able to put 1 person in the water right away and 1 person as a safety on the shore. Public relations, we had a serious fire during November, and we returned to the scene with our program checking smoke detectors. An engine company, a truck company, and squad returned to the scene. We went through approximately 50 homes, checked the smoke detectors. If they were broken, we replaced them. If the batteries were dead, we replaced the batteries. If they didn't have smoke detectors, we went ahead and gave them a free smoke detector. We continue to do that with every serious fire that we have. On page 6, you'll see that we have a thank you note. We went ahead and sent one of our engines over while they were collecting materials and food for the devastation in New York on November 3rd. We used our lighting generators to light the area so they could go ahead and pack the trucks. Those engine companies were in service. They were responding to any runs. During that event, they didn't have any runs, so that was nice. Page 6 is just a nice thank you note from Northview High School. We do a career day over there every year, and our medics went over and explained to them what a firefighter, what a medic does. So unless you have any questions for me?
Just a comment that in mid-January, we are going to be getting ice probably the way the weather's looking right now.
Okay.
So it's going to be under 30 degrees for like 2 weeks in a row, so we'll probably have 4 or 5 inches of ice this year.
Yeah, if we get ice at Olander, we will go ahead and put the guys in the ice. 2 years ago, when we had that ice, I think it was about 12 inches deep. We just took a chainsaw and we practiced in the ice, but last year didn't get cold enough for the ice, so we didn't get a chance to follow through with
Stay down
that.
and get the ice boating.
Yeah. I have one more item on the agenda. We're going to pin one of our newest employees, Derek Meyer. Derek started with us as a part-time employee December 2010. He worked as a part-time employee while he was going to paramedic school. The young man put himself through paramedic school, so that's a great feat in itself, having gone a few years ago to paramedic school. He also has completed his 160 hours of ride time on Life Squad 6, so he can be signed off now on the Lucas County rig and can ride as a second paramedic on those rigs, and we'll be doing that next week after I send the letter to our medical director. I would like Derek to step up here, please, right now, and his wife, Katie. He is accompanied by his mother, Cordell, his father-in-law, Dave, and his sister-in-law, Libby. You guys stand over here so you can see my picture now. Right there you go. The badge is a symbol of the firefighter and the fire department. It's worn with honor, and it's quite a feat for him to obtain this, and we're very proud of Derek as he made it through the part-time ranks and into the full-time ranks. I've had several members on other shifts ask if they can be on his shift, so he did make a great impression on others. I'm going to let you pin that on him, and if you feel that you want to pin it through the skin, you just go right there. Probably never had a pass through it yet.
At least we have a paramedic in the house.
If you leave, I'll take care of it if you leave. Congratulations, Derek. Congratulations, Keith. I know going through it was tough.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Good job.
And that's all I have, unless you have something for me.
Thank you, Chief. Good.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Derek, here's your hat.
Thank you, Chief. Next item on the agenda is the Police Department monthly report. Chief Fleming.
Good evening. You have before you our monthly report. I'll just go through it pretty quickly. On page 2, you can see our calls for service. I might note that not counting the intercom calls, all the calls into dispatch from the outside did total 7,206 calls. So they tend to stay pretty busy in there. Page 3, calls for service for the police, the CAD. You can see our total at the top there. You can see we're up just a little over 1,000 in police calls for service from 2011. Just very quickly, our citations are down a little, our parking tickets are up, warning notices up, property damage accidents continue to be down by a considerable amount. Injury accidents are up slightly. We haven't had any arsons this year. One thing to note as far as the homicides, it shows one, but actually, if we count the recent case, the Kathy Sackrider case, we've had 2 homicides in Sylvania Township this past year. We're handling the investigation. We don't know for sure where it occurred, but at this point anyway. But we do have 2, so obviously that's up. Burglaries, we've evened out. I'm happy to report we're about the same level. I'd like to get it down, but we were, as you remember, running way up on those. Robberies, we continue to still be way up. Domestic violence, assaults, those are ones you can't predict, and there's nothing you can really do as far as preventive measures. You can see we're pretty close to the same on most of those. Thefts, we're about the same. You can see the number of thefts. Again, a lot of the property crime is due to, believe it or not, drugs out here too, including the heroin and such. And you can see that we're up in all the other reports just a little bit. Page 4 and 5 are just a few examples of cases. There's nothing real, those are just picked at on a random basis, not the most serious cases. You will note an aggravated robbery on page 5, but it's not your conventional aggravated robbery where somebody goes in with a gun or something like that. It was somebody breaking into a house, a burglary that turned into a fight in the house. So force was used, so it becomes a robbery. Page 6, detectives' caseload stats. There were 70 cases that were assigned in the month of November. They cleared 36 of them, leaving 34 active. They did clear 34 other cases that had been assigned prior months for total clearance of cases of 70 for the month of November. And then you can see the breakdown as far as the detectives. There wasn't a whole lot of activity in the DEA task force. You've got that page there, page 8 I believe it is. You can read through that, but there wasn't a whole lot of activity. They did open 6 new cases that will obviously lead to things down the road. Page 9, we have 4 elementary schools in the township, as you know. We had the graduations for Whiteford, November 7th, Hillview for November 13th, and Central, November 20th. Traditionally, we do Stranahan in the spring, and I will also say that Community Affairs continues to have a daily presence in the middle schools in Arbor Hills and Timberstone, something that we're doing now that seems to be helping, especially over at Arbor Hills. There were a little more problems over there than there was at Timberstone in the past. We did complete CPR training for all the sworn officers. Thanks to the fire department, Lieutenant Kahan, he was great, and we were able to get through that. We get recertified every 2 years on basic CPR and the AD. That's pretty much all I have. I do have a nice letter, or an exceptional performance report here. I won't read it, but basically, Since I've never mentioned his name in a meeting before, and he's relatively new, dispatcher Andy Laurel. He handled a burglary in progress over in Cloister the past month, and it was an elderly resident that had called in, and it was a female. She was very shaken, and he talked her through it and did a real good job calming her down and such, and she was real appreciative, and the sergeant wrote him up for that. So just want to give accolades to Dispatcher Laurel. And with that, I have nothing more. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thank you.
Great work.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chief. Next item under the administrator is a public hearing. The township received a street lighting petition for Brookside Plat 4, and as required, we are having a hearing on that. If anybody wants to talk for it or against it, or John, you can open the hearing.
I'd like to open a public hearing for street lighting petition for Brookside Plat 4. Anybody for or against? We will close the public hearing.
And that leads me to our resolution, which will be Resolution 12-170, approval of street lighting petition for Brookside Plat 4.
I'll offer 12-172 for street lighting for Brookside Plat 4.
Second?
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
My next resolution is to set the date for the next regular trustee meeting. It's hard to believe, but we've come to the end of the year for our meetings, another year down. Our regularly scheduled, well, we haven't really set the meeting yet, but New Year's Day would be Tuesday.
Right.
We're thinking that having it on Thursday the 3rd would be our next regular scheduled meeting, and then at that meeting, we will set the agenda for the year of when we want the time and dates for our meeting. So
What do you
if
guys
it's,
prefer time, that day and time, or what do you guys want to do?
I am open, so Thursday works for me. I know you are out, Mr.
I'm
Simcoe.
going to be back.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Okay.
Assuming appropriate flights and that, don't get delayed.
Okay.
I'm open also.
Okay.
at what time would you like to do that on then?
We'll
4 or
go
5?
4
4
o'clock.
o'clock? Okay, so we will set the next meeting, January 3rd at 4 o'clock.
Okay. We don't need a resolution.
We should pass a resolution for that since
Do we have to?
it will be a regular scheduled meeting, not a special meeting.
All right, I'll offer that resolution.
12-171.
Yes.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Genoway? Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Next item is under the fiscal officer, Mr.
Oh,
Simon.
no, I got something else.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was just going to announce that with the Lucas County Township Association, we moved the annual dinner to Central Park West this year, which is in our township, and it's about time we move it from a city or a village or someplace to a township. So I thought, Susan just posted that we should attend, so if any of our people too who work in the township here would like to go to that dinner, you're more than welcome to go to the Township Association since we're a member. And it's in our own township, so I think it would look like we have a good showing there. That's all I wanted to know.
Do you have a date for that? Just-
Yes, the 11th, Friday the 11th, 6 o'clock cocktail hour. There's that stuff. Just like the one that we do out to the Pinnacle, because it's owned by the same people,
I just want,
but we just moved it to our township, yes. Thanks, Jeff, for reminding me of that.
okay, Mr. Simcoe, you're up.
Just briefly, we have the month-end analysis for the end of November. And just looking at the numbers really kind of tells the story on our revenues and expenditures. The general fund, as you recall, we have had some state monies and that was really enhanced revenue there. Road and bridge is up some, as you can see, just a little bit, that's good, but a real note there is that look at their expenditures. That's very good. But, when you really look at the police and fire, the revenues are good, the fire's going to be, it'll make the 100, and look at their expenditures too. We've done a good job, I think, the employees, the department managers, I think, they work hard to do that, but the employees are also kind of really part of that team effort that I think's been fostered in the township. They try to get everyone, and they recognize that our funding is tougher to come by. We, like they and their homes and other businesses, need to be careful with our money, and I think actually, in my time as fiscal officer, the best cooperation and efforts of people trying to, save us money in that and be responsible to taxpayer dollars. So we have to be proud of that, and all the departments really do a good job, I think.
Do you attribute that to the fiscal officer, or?
Well, I didn't want to say it, but since you are saying that, no, it's actually the trustees. Not really the fiscal officer.
No, I think it's a great job by everybody.
Yeah,
I know it's not a one person or a one department. Everybody's doing great, and Greg, that's an awesome number up there, so thank you very much.
Just to add, we did get the cat tax in since.
Oh, did you get tax in? Good. Oh,
Finally?
Yeah.
And actually, we're still waiting, as you see, for the EMS, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna take a long time to talk to them down there too, and they said it's gonna take.
Before the end of the year?
Yeah.
Get on that board, I said, when we get our money?
Yeah. But it's in the bank, so to speak, and we know we'll get it, and that's a good thing. Yeah. And Jim's gonna handle the motions, we got some good motions. So Mr. Beck, you're up.
Okay, thank you. We've got 4 motions here, kind of cleaning up the year. First one here is a transfer. You read it there. The first line there is we're transferring money into that line because we want to recognize the gross sale of the fire station in the books. So in order to do that, I need to increase the other expense to recognize the cost of the sale. The second one is to put money that we have put back into the general fund. If you remember correctly, last meeting, we transferred money from the private purpose trust fund back into the general fund. And then come to find out, Aflac and WageWorks had given us the wrong numbers.
So we gotta convert it back.
So we have to put part of it back in, not all of it, but part of it back in. So that's what that second line is for.
All right, I'll offer resolution 12-166, transfer appropriation.
Second?
Mr. Hadiak?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Okay, the next one is, there's some pretty large numbers in it, so I'd kind of like to go over it with you. This is increasing the appropriation in some line items. The big numbers you see there are the new funds that we're setting up for the capital projects. If you remember correctly, we had the capital equipment and permanent improvement funds, and we transferred money in from the 4 major funds into them, and I kept track of those reserves on a spreadsheet in my computer. What we're doing is setting up 4 individual funds to keep track of the general, road, police, and fire. So this money that we have in the capital equipment and permanent improvement funds, we have to transfer to these 4 individual funds. In order to do that, we have to increase the transfer out, line items to get. So you see some significant monies there. For instance, the first one in the 431 for the general, that's $3,660,000. It's in the reserve there. And the fire's got $2 million, but we're going to spend quite a bit of that for the last project. So, but that's the big numbers there.
Being in one account and separating it into 4 separate accounts, does that inhibit us in spending it
No.
in certain areas, or?
No, because we could only spend the dollars that fund had put into the one account. What this is doing is,
That department.
it's opened up a little bit better transparency of what each fund has in capital. Jim kept marvelous records, but they really never showed up in our financial statements. The financial statements only showed the 2 funds.
They show the total, but not the individual reserves.
So from now on, each fund will have their own capital. So just by looking at the financials, we'll see what the fire has in capital, police, road. So to answer your question, no, it doesn't inhibit us anyways, because we never had the right to spend fire funds for a road project or road funds for police.
Okay. I'd like to offer Resolution 12-167, increase the appropriations from unencumbered funds.
Second?
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
The next resolution is to transfer those monies that we just approved.
For 12-168, I already read that one.
Second.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Okay, now I...
Okay, the last one is a reduction of appropriations, and again, I'd kind of like to explain this a little bit. When we increased the appropriations 2 resolutions ago, okay, we have to reduce something to offset, so I'm not overspent in the line. So these are reductions in the appropriate line items, so then when we transfer the money, there'll be zero in those funds, so.
For Resolution 12-169, reduction of appropriations.
Second?
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Thank you, I have nothing more.
Thank you, Jim. Anything, open discussion, does anybody sign in?
Nobody signed in. I'd just like to bring up one thing, is with the year ending,
Marcia, did you sign in?
and
Did you sign in? Do you want to speak or no? Okay.
with the end of the year coming, and Dave already made some comments about the staff, I just want to say what a terrific job the department heads and staff have done this year. As you know, we had kind of a rough year with declining revenues. Everybody chipped in, everybody did a yeoman's job in this through the year. It was actually a pretty smooth year as far as the day-to-day running of the township. And I just want to thank everybody in the administration and all the department heads and their staff for making it a good year for us.
Well, that's another thing I want to bring up too, just remind me of that. We did pass a resolution at the Lucas County Township Association that's going to Columbus. I spoke to you about that. We're going to ask the Ohio Township Association to present to legislature that if you own properties in a certain area and anywhere in Ohio, you'll be able to vote on those levies that are going to be offered in those areas. So like if you have property in Toledo and you live in Sylvania, you get to vote on levies, whether it's income tax or school taxes. Now, you won't get to vote on the library twice or something like that, or any of those other issues, but you'll be able to vote on those entities when they present something. So you live in Toledo and own land in Sylvania Township, and we put a tax levy on, they'll get to vote on those, whether it's school or not. So just so you guys are up to date, that's what we're taking to Columbus.
Thank you.
Great job, John.
Thanks to everybody who has contributed to this good year. I mean, we did have a rough year financially, but I think everybody has done a great job, and the service level, I mean, you can always look forward to at least several thank you letters and recognition letters to all of our departments, and that's certainly, you know, the best part of my job when I see that, you know, the community appreciates what you guys do. So thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.
I want to ask Jim a quick question too. Hey, Jim, quick question. Do you think, like, first quarter next year, I know you're doing more with less, but you know, this benchmarking program, I know you've been starting to track some of those numbers.
Yes.
Is there a way that we might be able to start getting some of that feedback?
Yeah, we can look at the first year of 2011.
You can compare ourselves with some of the other townships.
Yeah, we can do that already.
That'd be great
From
to
11 to 12.
It'd be great to start
we'll
getting some of that
we'll
back.
be able to do that,
I'd like to
right.
see some of that feedback, so when you get it, I know you're doing more with less, but if you get a chance, I'd like to, that'd be great to see.
Yes, my name is Marcia Miller, and I own a home at 3350 Fairbanks. When we had that bad windstorm in July, the gentleman's house behind me, his tree fell on his garage, which, you know, fell into my yard, but it broke his garage in half. And the whole back of, the whole top back half of his garage fell out, the cement cinder blocks. And I called Kevin, he came out. He's went to the zoning board, I've called the zoning board. The zoning board told me to call Lucas County, I have called them. It is moldy, the wood that is there, so he's probably had a leak in the garage for some time. And as we have rain, the floorboard is, there's like a pull-down stairway for storage up in there. That's all falling out. And if you see the beginning pictures and what I took a picture of today, the garage is just keeps coming down, the back half. It's just a hazard. And I'm afraid of with rodents. I've never had a problem in the 6 years I've lived there. And my house, I don't have a huge house, but my concern is I do a lot of sewing, so I have almost $5,000 worth of fabric in that garage, in crates. I started to get rodents in my garage. Then I'm gonna have a garage, a bunch of, I'm really gonna be upset. I have 2 little chihuahuas that I have to be concerned in, other animals, when I let them out at nighttime. And I've been since July trying to get this garage taken down. I can't fix my fence, because if I fix my fence and that garage falls, I'm out more money.
Daryl,
Yeah.
are you aware of the situation?
Yes. Yeah, Mr. Head had made me aware of this situation, I guess it was over the summer. We've sent a couple of letters, 3 letters, I believe, to the property owner. This is property owner that we actually had a problem situation with a year ago, too, that we had abated, and Township Police Department had to go out with us because the property owner still lives on the property. Excuse me. Right now, this is in the hands of the Lucas County Prosecutor's Office. Last I spoke to Carlene Henderson, she told me that they needed to allow a certain amount of time before they sent another notice to the property owner. So I can check with her tomorrow. In fact, I'll be downtown tomorrow, so I can check with Carlene and see where we're at with that.
I would think it's covered, an insured covered loss, so, hopefully he has some money there.
He has no insurance.
I guess it would be covered.
He did take the tree down. It took, I don't know, was it maybe a month or so before he
Yeah, at least
2 months before he took the tree down?
There's
But-
most of it, yeah.
Yeah, but in fact, he's got the cinder blocks from the garage stacked up off to the side, nice neat stack, but hasn't done anything with the garage. You can look right from her property, you can look right in and see exercise equipment and tools and everything else that he has in the garage. There's just wide open.
Well,
Will you report back to us next month?
Yeah.
Then we
Yeah, well,
find-
hopefully before that.
Yeah.
If you talk to Carly now, send me an email, and then I'll convey it to the
Sure.
great.
trustees. And is this, just out of curiosity, is this anything that the Board of Health can look at if there's rodents? Something we should contact them on?
I don't know that they would check out the garage, so usually they're only concerned if it's a home and somebody's living in the home.
If you give them a call, just ask them.
I'm going to their meeting tomorrow's the 20th, or no, 2 days. I'm going Thursday morning to their meeting. So I'll talk to them when I'm down there.
Yeah, because that could be a help.
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to their meeting at 8 o'clock.
We'll see what we can do for you.
Thank you.
It's just all a hazard, my too many animals. It could be lunch for, because they're so small.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marcia.
I would like to offer a motion to adjourn at 7:33.
Second.
Mr. Haddad? Yep. Mr. Dunaway? Yes. Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
See you next year.
See you next year.